Hey guys, what's going on? So last video I showed you guys, it was actually my first video on this YouTube channel. I showed you guys the sub and amp on my Matrix here. And I actually ordered some 4-gauge wire as well as some connectors and heat shrink for doing a big 3 upgrade because we're having some light dimming issues, as well as it's kind of hard to run the air conditioning and everything. Now I'm just doing the big 3 right now, but down the road I would like to also do, a second battery in the back by the amp, ran with some 4-gauge wire, because I believe I only have 8-gauge running from the battery to the amplifier right now. And I'd like to switch that out too, to kind of push more power to the amp. It is inline fused from the battery to the back, so everything is good, everything works great. But I'm gonna do the big 3 now, see how that operates. If I have to get a bigger alternator, a high output alternator, something that's pushing at least 200 amps, I'll do that. Maybe get a bigger battery in the front, and as well as get a second one in the back, and that alternator will power them both, and everything should kind of run better anyways. The car already has some issues with even just the AC running at idle. I find that the RPMs like to drop a lot. It doesn't really try to fix it. Now I've done some jobs like the valve cover gasket and tried to clean up the intakes a little bit, and it's helped a little bit, but I really think it is an alternator issue. Maybe it's just the age of the alternator in the vehicle, who knows. But anyways, the wiring and everything is in, so let's go get it. All right, package secured. I can hear all of the goodies in there. 25 feet of black shielded cable. Let's show you guys what it looks like. So here we have the 25 feet of copper clad aluminum. Again, I just went black. Like, I'm not gonna buy a whole other set of wire for just red to have for positive. I don't really care all that much. It's my car. I know what's going into it. I know I need to run from the alternator to the battery with it. That's fine. And here's the little goodies of all of the connectors and some heat shrinks with it. So I don't have a crimper for these, so we're going to probably vice grip them in. I don't know yet, but we'll figure that out. They like wrapped it up like spiraled, and this is the most fun part. Look, I just ripped it. Great. Oh my god. All right, so I finally got it out. Now I know you can buy like kit specific stuff for your car, but to be honest, it's much cheaper to just buy the wire and the connectors separately. It was actually cheaper to get the connectors off Amazon than it was in store. If I wanted 6 of these guys, it was gonna cost me like 25 bucks. I got this kit of connectors here with heat shrink for like 12 bucks. So better than in store. They still look high grade, which is good. And it does come with heat shrink. So I'll just, I don't have a heat gun, but I'll use a torch later on it and just get it sealed up nice and good. Once it's crimped down, I just need to find a way to crimp them. But we'll get this thing buttoned up. I was getting some light stimming, and the voltage was reading just under 12.8. So I really want to get this done, see if it makes any difference at all on the stock equipment. And maybe it'll drain it more, who knows. Sometimes that's a thing. You can drain more power because your alternator is able to push more voltage out when that demand is there. So we'll see how it goes. I'll show you guys all that though in the next clip. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty straightforward setup. We got to go from the positive end right there. We can go up and run it along the stock battery cable. We'll just take that cover off again. We'll go across and jumper it right into the battery connector there. Yeah, that is very corroded, but we'll get that sorted. We'll get the negative to the chassis and the chassis to the ground, the engine to the chassis, and it'll be good to go. The truck is looking real friggin' nice today. Let's get her started. I will almost never get tired of that.
3 hours later.
So we've just got the power wire hooked in here now. We're tied into the alternator, so it goes up, over, and it fires the same wire loom. It goes down underneath, and yes, we've zip tied it all together, and it comes back up around, doesn't touch anything hot because it's all zip tied down, and right up into the battery. So I was having some trouble getting the ground to follow down to the transmission, which is the engine ground on this. Now, I was looking up engines in the 1ZZ FE, and some say that you can ground just over top of the alternator, and there's a bolt right there that you can use. So I'm gonna try to find something I can ground that to, maybe to the strut tower, similar to how I'm doing on this side, where the strut tower ground is going to the negative battery cable. So that's what I'm gonna do instead. So change of plans, actually. We're not gonna do the valve cover gasket. We're gonna use the alternator's mount right there, and I'm literally just gonna go around and put it up right into that strut tower. So now that's all buttoned up there. I'm actually going to put something so that I can make sure that it doesn't hit the belt. Of course, the power wire from the alternator is also ran. It goes down and round away from everything hot, back up to the battery, and then the battery ground, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. Maybe I might make it shorter. It's just ran to that strut tower, but both struts are in use. We do have power, so time to see. Clutch in. So far, so good. Let's turn our lights back on.
A few moments later.
So it's actually like in the middle of the night now. I did stop filming, but we ran into an issue where the idle was dropping pretty low. It was, you know, parked sitting at like 500, where this car likes to sit at like 900 or 1,000, where it's smooth. So anyways, my buddy showed up, the guy that sold me the subs, and we were kind of looking everything over, and he was like, you know, the big three doesn't really cause this type of, like, it doesn't cause issues like this, and I already understood that. It shouldn't harm anything. If anything, it might just kill your alternator faster. So anyways, I just kind of messed around with the wiring for about another half an hour. Eventually, I decided to just button everything up because he mentioned to me that, like, you know, just try to sleep on it. And I was like, no, I think I can figure this out. And he's like, you never know, you could have, maybe there's a fuse that you pulled. I never touched the fuses, I knew that. But he did mention that, like, you don't know, you could have, like, leaned on something and now something's loose you don't know about. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, when I did put the ground in, for whatever reason, I was really, or sorry, no, not when I was putting the ground in. I dropped the positive battery bolt, or sorry, the positive battery nut down beside it, and I was trying to look for it. And when I was looking for it, I did lean over, and I was leaning on the intake, and on top of the intake is the MAF sensor. So I disconnected the battery again. I tightened all the grounds for everything, and I put the positive cable back on, and because I did find the battery nut, and I just literally like loosened the MAF sensor and then put it back on, and then restarted the car, and it was fine. It was great. And the battery tests great now. I had the AC on max with recirc on, and then I also had the amp going at like 90%. Because if I go any higher than that, the front speakers start to sound like crap because I want to get new front speakers. But it went from a drop of like 12.9, 12.8 when it hits to like steady 14 volts. So the big three has been great so far. I'm going to run it, you know, basically forever now. And now that I've done that, I can guarantee that anybody running any audio should do it. I think it'll benefit your car's electrical system greatly. Anyways, guys, if you like the video, please leave a like. If you want to comment, I'd love to chat with you guys. And subscribe, because I do plan on making some more videos here. So have a good one, guys. Peace.